and I think a lot of us have kind of acquiesced at times to be like, well, I just don't have a very good sleeper, or my kid's really fussy. When we don't often, I mean, I think we are doing it more, but we don't often look at our own mental state.
Totally.
And that's the gift of being able to look back in retrospect and being,
Right.
outside of the weeds 11 years later, and kids are sleeping fine and we're sleeping, and we can look back and reflect versus being in it. Which is why it's easier to give advice than to take it for yourself. But so all the new parents, like we get what that's like, and you just have to get through sometimes. You just have to get through. But yeah, that connection of your mental state, your anxiety, and as it relates to your child. And if you could calm yourself, and that's putting the oxygen mask on yourself first versus helping
Yes.
others. If you can start to work on down regulating your stress hormones, showing up as your best self, just as a example, just trying it out and see if that would make a difference for your young person.
Yes, yes. And every household's going to be different and there's going to be different issues. But, in my little unit of 4, I know that how I was feeling when I had my first child and how I was feeling when I had my second. My second kid, I had 4.5 years later. Um, Part of the reason they're so far apart in age is that I was licking my wounds for quite a while after my first round with a colicky baby. Um, but just looking at them and sort of what the newborn period was like for my 2 different children, they their personalities were night and day. My second child was that kid who would be playing on the play mat and then just would suddenly drift off to sleep. I remember actually taking a picture of him having done that one time and sending it to my sister and saying, "Did you know this was possible?" And so much of the
So did you
difference.
just think you got lucky the second time?
No, I don't. I mean, I do
Okay.
think I got lucky. I mean, the child was an amazing baby, and is amazing little angel of a human being. I'm trying to not hold him to that. He gets to be whoever he wants to be. Um, but I think a lot of it had to do with the inner work that I did between having my first and second child. After my first kiddo, when I sort of started climbing out of the weeds and finally found a therapist and um, went a lot deeper into my yoga practice. I did 3 different yoga teacher trainings, and one for adults and 2 for kids yoga, that is, and became just much more intentional about my mindfulness practice. I think all of that together put me and my nervous system in a much better place to support a calm and peaceful baby. And not to say that we didn't have plenty of moments of, newborn crying, what the heck am I supposed to do? I mean, there's tons of that, but I never felt out of control like I did with my first child.
When you have the tools for resiliency, and I think that's where yoga and mindfulness and meditation, and having the ability to know that when you feel stressed, because you're not going to absolve yourself from stress. It's going to
No,
happen whether you
it's
have a
everywhere.
newborn or right. It's all the time, but that you have your proverbial tool belt to go through and say, okay, I'm checking in. I'm feeling anxious and stressed and
Hmm.
tense. This is what I know. I'm going to do these 3 things.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if that doesn't work, I've got 3 more in my toolbox that I can pull out so that I can get myself back to center. And those are probably the tools that you didn't have the first time around.
Exactly. And it's also just the knowledge that even if the tools don't work, you're still going to be okay.